Hello everyone and welcome to week 4. This week we get to dive into the world of photography, and photography is one of my favorite worlds to be in. So I hope you guys are as excited about this week as I am. I have to tell you something. I just finished recording this video and my mouse died right at the very end of the video. And I don't have any batteries in my entire house, or so I thought. So I'm re-recording now. I borrowed batteries from my husband's Xbox controller, but apparently they're not very charged because now they're saying they might die any minute. So I'm going to make this as quick as I can and hope that I don't have another battery crisis. Let's talk really quickly about what's due this week. This week looks a lot like the last 2 weeks have. You have your readings and then your quiz and then your reverse engineer post. However, your reverse engineer post has an added element that it doesn't normally have. You're actually going to be taking pictures this week. So make sure you don't put this off until Saturday night when your light is gone, because as you'll read in your readings, natural light is what you want to use for your pictures. That's the best kind of light. That's ideal light. So if you want to get a good grade, you want to have natural light as your light source. So make sure that you take your pictures during the day sometime and plan that in advance. Don't procrastinate and wait until Saturday. So there's an example in the bottom, like usual. Basically what you're going to be doing is finding a professional photo that shows certain principles, and then you'll do your drawovers, and then you'll take a picture that is similar, that mimics the one that you found, and then do a drawover on that. So that's why you need to plan in advance, and so that you have time to get your pictures taken before the deadline. There are three pictures that you need to find. One that shows a rule of thirds, one that shows leading lines, and one that shows depth of field. There's information on each of those in the readings, but I'm also going to go over them quickly in this video. So before we get into that, we'll do a quick spiritual thought. Let me go over here. So as I was thinking about what I wanted to share this week, I was thinking about how much I love photography and why I love it. I feel like it's because I can use my camera to capture memories, capture the beauty of life and the beauty of the earth. And so I thought it would be appropriate to find a quote about nature. So I found this one. It says, "When we are in nature, feelings of hope, peace, and reverence come to us through the Spirit." And this really spoke to me because I feel like every time I'm out in nature, it just recenters me and it reminds me of what's most important. And I never thought about the fact that that could be the Spirit speaking to me, speaking hope, peace, and reverence. And that truly is what I feel when I'm out in nature. I live a short drive from the Rocky Mountains, and I just love spending time out there hiking or skiing or mountain biking. So I encourage you all to enjoy. You don't have to necessarily take pictures of nature this week, but just enjoy the beautiful earth and try to capture some of its beauty and feel the Spirit as you do it. There's also more to this quote. I'll put it in the comments below that I really liked, but I couldn't fit it on the graphic. All right, so rule of thirds. Let's talk about rule of thirds. Rule of thirds basically states that you separate your image into thirds. So you have 2 horizontal thirds, well, three horizontal thirds, and then 3 vertical thirds. So you have 9 squares total, and you want to put your focal point ideally in one of the places where the points intersect if you're taking a picture that has a subject, like a portrait. So in this one I've got my sister. This is my little sister. This is from a while ago. These are her engagement pictures. Anyway, I put her eye right here in the top right thirds quadrant. So the reason why this works is because it kind of uses the golden ratio. I don't know if you've heard of that. You can look it up. If you haven't, maybe I'll share an article on it. But it's like a big mathematical thing that makes things visually pleasing, the golden ratio, and that kind of applies it to photography. It also creates an asymmetrical balance that is pleasing to the eye, and draws the eye. A lot of the time we expect symmetry, and so when we see asymmetrical balance, we're kind of drawn to it and we look to it. So that's part of why the rule of thirds works as well as it does. Almost all of the pictures I ever take, I use the rule of thirds, but only 2 of them I'm going to show you the little grid on them. So this is my other rule of thirds. Her eye isn't exactly down here. I didn't want to cut off her foot, but she's also got some lead room over here. And so I've got her left eye would be on the vertical line as well. So I could have gotten even lower so that this line was on the bottom thirds, because you a lot of the time, especially if you're outside taking nature pictures, you want to put your horizon lines on one of these horizontal thirds lines. Inside, I could have made it so that this was there, but I was giant pregnant belly when I took this picture, so I couldn't quite get down low enough to make that happen. So forgive me. It's not a perfect rule of thirds, but you don't have to have a perfect thirds. Anyway, those are 2 examples of rule of thirds. Depth of field is basically created by the size of your camera's aperture, which is the hole that opens up to let light in to the image sensor or the light sensor. So if you have the larger the aperture, the shallower the depth of field, the less that's going to be in focus on your image. So here she is in focus, and as you can see, it's very shallow because even her hair here is starting to get out of focus, and then the background is super blurry. So you can have your subject in focus, or you can have your subjects out of focus, like this image. We've got the flowers in focus and then my subjects are out of focus, so that's another creative way to use depth of field. We've also got leading lines. Leading lines are fun because they kind of guide the eye through the image. So if you put your subject where the lines are guiding to, then the lines of the image will lead your viewer straight to where you want them to look, which is kind of fun. These can be a lot of fun to play around with. There are lines all over the place, everywhere. So just look for them as you're taking your pictures and see if you can use them creatively in your image. Here's another one that's not a portrait. Look at me, I can take pictures that aren't portraits. This is actually at a golf course. So here's some fun leading lines that just kind of create some visual interest, and they guide your eyes through the image, like I said. And then here's another one, lots of leading lines, and this one kind of leads towards my subjects. So those are leading lines. And then a few notes about lighting. This picture was taken as the sun was going down, but we were losing our light. The sun was a little bit too low, and so the picture wasn't turning out like I had wanted it to, and I was so upset because we had this awesome car and I wanted to get this cool picture with the mountains in the background. And so what we did was I had someone else that was there pull a car over, or maybe we did. I think we pulled the car over and turned on the headlights so that I had a secondary light source. The light's a little bit warmer, as you can see, because it's a yellower light from the headlights of their car. But that's something you can do. Think about using other light sources besides the sun if you need them, like lamps. But keep in mind that light is usually not quite as pleasing to the eye as the light from the sun. This was taken at midday when the sun was super high and super harsh. So what I did was I silhouetted this tree with the sun behind it by metering my camera. This you probably couldn't do with a phone camera. By the way, you can use phone cameras, and there's a video that will show you how to tap your screen to focus. But if you have a DSLR, feel free to use it. If you have a nicer camera, feel free to use it, but your phones will be fine. Anyway, so this was just a creative way that I was taking a picture in the middle of the day, so you can think about trying to use your midday sun creatively if that's the only time you can take a picture. The ideal time to take a picture is as the sun's going down. You can create a silhouette during that time, like this one, or by metering on the sky rather than your subjects, or you can, a little earlier, put your focus on your subject so that the lighting is on them rather than the sun going down in the background like this one. This one is backlit. This is right as the sun was going down, like your reading said. The best time to take pictures is as the sun's coming up, right after, or right before the sun goes down. That's when the light is the softest and the shadows are the softest, not super harsh. So that's an example of backlit sunset lighting. And then I wanted to do a quick photo editing tutorial for you, just for fun, because you're not required to edit your photos this week, but if you want to in Photoshop, you can. I'm not going to go over all the tools and stuff right now because that's something we're going to do later on when we do an actual project in Photoshop. So if you're a little bit lost, don't feel too bad because we haven't gone over any of this, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over the nitty-gritty details of Photoshop, but I am going to show you just a couple basics so that if you want to, you can edit your pictures this week. This image I edited. This is the edited image, and then I'm going to show you the unedited image. I'm just holding Option on my keyboard. Alt would be what you push on a PC. So see the difference. This is the image straight out of my camera. Sometimes, especially if you have a backlit photo, it can kind of come out of the camera a little bit washed out, and so a little bit of editing can go a super long way. I'm just going to show you a few things on how I did that. So basically what you want to do is go to your adjustments palette here in the right hand side, and if you don't see adjustments, you go up to window at the top. You won't be able to see it, but it's just the toolbar at the top. You click window, then you come down and choose adjustments, and then the palette will pop up for you. We're going to use levels. You can also use curves to do this. This just kind of creates more contrast and brings in the shadows a little bit. So as you can see, this tool, the black little pointer represents shadows, this one represents highlights, and this one represents midtones. So I'm going to bring my shadows up until it touches this white fun thing. And so I'll just show you before and after by clicking this little eye icon. This is the before and after we just brought in, and then if I wanted to play around with my midtones a little bit, I could do that as well. So that's just a really quick way to add some contrast to your image by using the levels adjustment layer. You can also whiten teeth quickly. So I'm going to zoom in by pushing Command plus on my keyboard. Then I'm going to hit the space bar to move up to her face. Space bar, click and drag with my mouse. Then I'm going to choose the lasso tool over here, and I'm going to click and drag around her teeth. And then I'm going to choose the hue saturation. I'm going to select yellows. This will select only the yellow parts, the yellow tones in the image. And then I just lower the saturation, and that's going to make her teeth white. Ta-da! But not like an inhumane white, just the normal white. And so that's a quick way to whiten teeth. If you want to take out some blemishes, I'll show you how to do that really quick. So I'm going to hit Command J on my keyboard to create a copy of this image so that if I decide I don't like the changes I make, I'm not changing my original image, I'm just changing a copy of it so that I can delete it if I decide I don't want those changes. So I like to use the patch tool. If you click and hold down, you can see the different tools here. A different one might show up on your screen, like sometimes a healing brush. I like to use the patch tool for little blemishes. So what you do is click and drag around the blemish, and then you click and move it to a place where you want to take a resample from. So it's going to take that smooth skin and it's going to re-smooth out in there, and then I can just do it again. Click and drag, and it keeps the skin's texture, and it's just awesome. I just love it. It's so cool. Ta-da! So that's what you can do to do that. And then I like to also use a sharpen tool sometimes, which is here, this triangle tool. You might see the blur tool or the smudge tool. Remember to click and hold down to see the tools that are underneath. I like to usually sharpen the eyes a little bit, and sometimes maybe the mouth, just so that that's there. And then you can also use color balance. Sometimes I use color balance if there's a little bit too much yellow in my image or a little bit too much red or green sometimes. By using the color balance adjustment layer, I can take out some of the yellows if I want, so because it is a little bit yellow, but or maybe take out a little bit of the reds. So you can play around. That one is pretty subtle, but if I didn't want to be quite as yellow. Anyway, those are my favorite portrait adjustments. Again, before and after, pretty impressive, right? So if you feel so inclined, go ahead and edit. If not, that's fine. You don't have to edit your pictures this week. So good luck. I can't wait to see your project, your posts, and I hope you enjoy photography this week as much as I do. Good luck.